Hi, this is Kijuana Moultrie. This is my final overview of Brazil, emerging market I chose for this project. The history of Brazil: it gained its independence in 1822. It was under a monarchy system until 1888. Slavery was also abolished in 1888 and is now democratic. The languages include Portuguese, English, and Spanish. There are white, black, mixed, Asian, and other races in Brazil. The population is over 204 million people. Religions include Roman Catholic, Christianity, and Protestant. They also suffer a decline of population growth due to fertility, so they're trying to build their population up throughout the years. And now they are over 204 million people. And also the working ages was lowered because of that. The political environment includes crime, and crime is a huge problem till this day. It's still a huge problem. It's high levels of murder, rape, theft, and kidnapping. 25.2 out of 100,000 people has been victims of murder or attempted murder. Government is highly involved in the economy, but today they're starting to loosen up a little bit. The involvement includes telecommunication, energy, and power. Also, corruption is still a problem to this day. The economic environment: the economy is based off of agriculture, natural minerals, mining, and manufacturing. There has been improvements in microeconomic stability, building foreign investments, and lowering debt. Infrastructure still needs improvement, especially roads, especially in the rural areas, the poverty areas of Brazil. Corruption still affects the environment, and there's limited access in the market. To continue with the economy, the history of the economy: in the 16th century, sugar has been a big boom in Brazil, and it slowly declined until the 18th century where they discovered gold. Gold has been a major boom in Brazil, but that was only temporary. And until the 19th century, coffee was discovered, and that has been yet another boom for Brazil. Yet the Brazil sales had declined. Coffee was overproduced, and also people just didn't want coffee no more, so they just stopped buying it. And the coffee boom wasn't a boom anymore. It just declined. Um, there's a thing called the Brazilian miracle, where Brazil actually wanted to become more independent and less dependent off of commodity exports. They wanted to diverse their economy and also invest more in their infrastructure. The growth of Brazil has been up and down. A major drop happened in July of 2015, reaching -2, but since then has risen as of 2016, -0.3. The place in the global economy: they invested in foreign countries like South Korea, India, and the US. In 2007, oil was discovered, and Brazil became a major exporter of oil. And also, they have a big boom in meat processing, which takes over 50% of the world. Poverty and inequality still is a problem. To this day, poverty is still at a higher rate. It's Poverty are mostly in rural areas in Brazil. Blacks are high in poverty, and women are also high in poverty. Whites and light-skinned people are more wealthier and have better opportunities. So they have better education, they have higher paying jobs, everything like that. Men are the highest paid in the country, and they mostly take leadership roles. If a woman take a leadership role, they don't have an equal pay as a man. The analysts of Brazil: foreign direct investments, which is well, it stands for FDI, is where a company makes an investment in another country. So, for instance, McDonald's in the U.S. wants to make an investment in Brazil, so they'll go to Brazil and build from there, which also leads to greenfield investments where companies build from ground up. So McDonald's does this all the time. They'll go to a different country and build from the ground up and start fresh in that country. Brownfield investments where a company merge or join with another company in foreign countries. Joint ventures are an example of that, and they're mostly popular in Brazil. Risk includes complicated tax systems, political issues, economic crises, barriers in international trade, restrictions on investments on insurance, aviation, and media. Doing business in Brazil, different investments are very much to choose from. You have agriculture, the automotive industry, telecommunication, also manufacturing. The leading industries in Brazil are oil and gas, pharmacies, and computer softwares. The government also encourages investors, which means that it's more investment in infrastructure, because in order for the companies to have better customer service and also transport their goods to different areas, you have to have better roads. So the companies will come and invest in infrastructure and help build more roads or whatever else needs to be invested in, for say Brazil. Telefonica SA originated in Spain, and they specialize in telecommunications. So they have landlines and cell phones, and they also have broadband, so they offer internet service. And they have the largest fixed line in Brazil. This is an example of a company that invests in a foreign country. And also a beer company, which in the US is called Budweiser. It was established in Belgium and merged with Brazil and the US. Entry mode strategies include joint venture, which is most preferred, especially in Brazil if you want to invest in Brazil. Joint venture mostly have family firms and family businesses, and they are ideal for a country that is highly regulated and bidding for foreign contracts. Companies in a foreign country have knowledge of the business and procedures of the country, so it makes companies, for say in the US, makes them more knowledgeable of Brazil, because they are joining a local company in Brazil, and of course they will know about the policies and everything, the business procedures, all that, to help the company make a profit and have a booming business in Brazil. Wholly owned companies is where the company, for say in the US, goes and expands in another foreign country, for say Brazil, by using greenfield method or accretion. Also, it's very common in Brazil, and companies have complete control, whereas joint venture, you may have trouble having control because you're dealing with two owners, and most likely you probably have conflict because y'all may have different views of certain things. Or the company in, for say Brazil, will have more control because they're locally and you're not there. In wholly owned companies, you have complete control. You are there. You make the decisions. You do everything. The disadvantage of wholly owned companies is where you don't have know-hows. Whereas joint ventures, you have know-hows. You have people that know about the country and the businesses in that country. The cost varies by different entry modes. For example, joint venture can cost by building relationships. You have to build relationships in order for you to join with another company. The culture differences can be challenging, where you have the language barriers, different business culture, and lifestyles. High control can be ideal for most companies. You can make decisions necessary for direct sales for consumers, especially with custom products. For commitment, you prefer strict contracts and willing to work with the best suppliers. Timing is very difficult to time entering any emerging market. There are two different types. First movers is where you jump right into it first. You have no competition. You have low prices for access. You can set your standards for products, create and establish a brand. You can gain a large market also, but it's also costly to advertise, and you can risk your customers not liking your product, and you can face increased operations. Latecomers, you enter late, you late in the game. You are able to gather analysts from the first entrance, and you can take advantage of new technology, the infrastructure that the previous firms invested into, and also you can have a learning curve. So now the product launch. If I want to invest in Brazil, I will go within the fashion industry. I am a up and coming fashion designer. I make my clothes, I sell clothes and everything. And in Brazil, the middle class is the major consumers. I want to attract the middle class, but I also want to attract the poverty, the lower class. I plan to help the poverty, offering jobs in sewing factories, but with a higher wage. Hopefully, if this does happen, I'll be a big company. But if I was starting small, I would join with another company, and I could start from there. I will have programs to help children build their skills, and also offer clothing to poor families who cannot afford, clothing. Um, it's a high-end and ready-to-wear. High-end is where you have gowns, um, especially for celebrities. You have the price range is very high, and you have ready-to-wear, which is everyday wear you get at supermarkets, malls, boutiques, or whatever you buy your everyday clothes. And the fashion is very popular in Brazil, very popular. If I were to join with another company, I will join with Osklen. Osklen is very popular in Brazil. He is very urban, and he specializes in ready-to-wear and luxury wear, and they also equal friendly. And I feel like we have some things in common. Negotiating strategies. If I were to go in with this product, I would think about the relationships. I would have to build relationships with the businesses in Brazil, because that's how they do their business. You can't just go in just thinking, oh, we're just business. You have to go in and build a relationship. You don't have to be really close, but you have to be close enough for you to build trust, have a strong trust with each other, and have that same passion. Brazilians are driven by passion. They will argue with passion. So it probably won't be a problem for me, but it's a problem with most companies who go into Brazil and want to negotiate strictly business without building a relationship. Counterparts, you have to have a counterpart that's local in the country. They do not trust foreign partners. If you come in with a lawyer if I come in with a lawyer from the United States, they will find that like resentful. They will not like that. Also, if you have a local counterpart, they could educate you on the country, and it'll be best to do that, especially for women. Having a male counterpart could give you an advantage, because men mostly dominates in Brazil, and it will take longer if you're going by yourself. It will take longer to make a decision. If you're going with a male counterpart, they're most likely, well, they'll take their time, but they'll probably be a little bit more quicker. Decision making, I have to be patient. The highest level always make the decision. So the top person, the CEO, the top person makes the decision. And use passion. Like I said, they have driven passion. Small talk, no money talk. This is important because you have to build your relationships. If you go in straight talking business, it could be dangerous, and they probably will not consider your negotiation or your offer. So you have to give the impression this is for a long-term relationship. This is not only business, but also to have long-term relationships.